Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to Hands Across the Water, our wee Monday night show. With us, as usual, is Baz, and a special guest today. We've got Scotty from the Not Another Rangers podcast, and what a well-named one. There's that many of us knocking about there, mate. That was a cracking name just to kick off for a podcast. I hope you're keeping well, buddy.
Aye, not too bad. I was down in London at weekend at a concert, and I'm going to another concert tonight. So it's been good musical wise. As for Rangers, it's just every day we're looking for something different, and there's not a lot happening at the moment. But no, like you said, William. I mean, it's not another Rangers podcast. We called it that because basically, like you said, there's quite a lot of content out there for Rangers fans to listen to, and we wanted to put across our own opinions. But that's why we called it not another Rangers podcast, because there is quite a lot.
No, it's a cracking name to be fair. It really is. Like, Baz, how are you keeping, mate? The old good. I've seen you were flying about there trying to get in time. You were nearly late, but I think you broke a speed limit there coming home.
No, I had everything planned, and then I get a text message from the son to meet him in Nuts Corner, and I had to fly up there. Traffic is a nightmare coming back, and actually, I was coming round the corner. It was flying, and the pillars were behind me with the flashing lights. I thought it was for me, but thankfully, I wasn't. I drove past, so I'm all good.
Good.
And
Well, I
welcome, and by the way,
say,
welcome to Scad. It's great to see you on Scad, and hopefully, this will be something we can do a lot more in the future.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Baz. And I've asked you to come on hours a few times, but I know you've always been busy, so the invite's always open. Just we do it on a Monday night and a Friday night, but at the moment we're only doing Fridays because there's not a lot of stuff to talk about. And we don't want to keep repeating ourselves.
100%.
yeah, no, that's it. Even from Monday, as I say, we're going to talk about as much as we can here tonight, this evening. But there isn't actually that much really from week to week. But hopefully, everyone keeps telling us the 1st of July. That's why we're not signing anyone. It's a new year, when all the money and all changes up, and then that means financial year. We'll have all these signings coming 1st of July tomorrow. We'll hope to have them all lined up because we're in desperate need of them. But Scotty, just for anyone that's listening first, buddy, you maybe haven't heard your views on the likes of the takeover and stuff and all. Mate. What are your thoughts on it? You think it was badly needed like everyone else because it was going into this season, mate? If it was the old regime and we knew the crack with not we were having to sell players before we'd even have a chance to sign anybody, it was pretty grim, mate, wasn't it?
It was very grim, William. I think we needed change all over the club, on the part, but especially behind the scenes. I think the guys behind the scenes have took us as far as they could. Listen, they kept us afloat for a while. They done what they could as Rangers men, but they didn't have the finance to take us any further. And that's just it. They didn't have the money there to take us another step. So I think they've done what the best they could, but they had to sell out. And we're just hoping the people that's come in, Kavanagh, etc., that's coming through the door, are going to take us further. It sounds good. We keep hearing, everybody always says the same cliche, they talk well. It's okay talking well, but let us see results, especially on the pitch. So all we can do is say fingers crossed, and time will tell.
Yeah, 100%. I suppose, Baz, you're in the same line of thinking, really, as Scotty there, aren't you? I think we both are.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, the regime needed changed because what we were currently doing wasn't getting us anywhere near the title. So something had to change, something had to give. And for me, I spoke on before about the 49ers and their connection with Rangers and their connection with Leeds and what I've seen them doing down there. And yeah, that can only give you hope. As a Rangers fan, we've lost a lot of hope over the last couple of seasons. It's been dreadful. It's been awful. So, with these guys coming in, look, what I would say is, when the guys came in, a lot of Rangers fans were expecting billions to be spent. We're going to spend billions, millions everywhere, but it's not going to be like that. We do have to know how to cut our cloth up in Scotland, and these guys will do that, but they're only through the door. And that's the way I look at things. It's going to take a wee bit of time, but we will get there.
Yeah, no, as I say, I think a lot of people's getting a bit nervous, but that's the way us Rangers fans are. Like, you look at it, there was yesterday. I think we had a behind or over the weekend we played against I think it was a TNS. We lost 1-0 in the backdoors friendly, and Twitter went absolutely mental. So did Facebook. Everybody, as usual, Tav was getting it big time. Nobody had seen what had happened. Nobody had seen who played what, but they heard that Tavernier was on the pitch for a bit part of it. So obviously he got it big licks like. But that's just the way the Rangers supporters are. We're very demanding, and you know what? I wouldn't want to take that away from us either, because that's what's made us the most successful club there is. You know what I mean? Because the fans have always demanded the best. But it's still at that time, sometimes you got to, with the new regime change, I think these guys are going to be a wee bit more reserved in what to do. And I think it's all about picking the right players, because we don't want to go in too early, just grabbing players for the sake of it, and then having to do this rebuild. And I think with Russell Martin and the way he's going to be playing, it's going to be a certain type of player that he's going to want in. And if it does take a bit of time to do that, I think we're better off waiting, Scotty, than just going in and getting the first person we can just because they're available,
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it'll take time, and sometimes fans don't like time because you want success yesterday. You don't want to wait. You want everything to happen ASAP, and that can't always happen. So it will take time. Russell Martin needs time as well. And listen, I was the first one to come out and say I didn't like Clement. I didn't like Bill either, to be honest with you. But I didn't like Clement. I didn't think he should have got the job in the first place, but he did. And when he got the job, you back him. But I thought he was treading water for ages before he got it. But I think Russell Martin, we have to give him time because we don't know what he's going to offer as yet. But the board have to back him with some players because, as
Yeah.
you two know, this squad of players aren't taking us anywhere. They've been there, done
No.
it, they've failed, and will continue to do that until there's change. But we do probably need time, and I just hope they're not waiting to see if we qualify for the Champions League because I think that's a bad move. Like we've done that previously, but I just wouldn't buy anybody. William, I do agree. I think it has to be a remit. I think obviously they may have a back. We've got £20 million, whatever, maybe a bit more than that to spend. But wages come into that. Wages come into that as well. So wages can bump that up. So we're in a market where there will be a lot of players, but there'll be a lot of clubs in the same market. So as we've seen with the boy for Peterborough going to want to stay in England rather than come to Scotland. So I think it will take time. I'm just hoping there's a few more in this week.
Yeah, I think Scott's right there, Baz. Like, as I say, it will take time. We understand that, but you're looking at it now and going, you have only a few weeks really to go. I think it's 3 weeks until this Champions League game. And if, in my opinion, if we are going to wait for those, to see if we qualify or not, that team that we have at the minute won't get far. That Panathinaikos side have made quite a few signings already. They're getting themselves prepared for this, and I just don't trust this squad to go ahead and get us through there. I don't know what you think of that, Baz.
It's a real strange one because this particular squad done quite well in Europe, and also them as across the city. We got a lot of points off them last season. It's the most bizarre Rangers squad I've seen in years. That at certain times their levels can be reached as high as they want, but the consistency against the lower teams in that league has been absolutely dreadful, and that includes the Queens Park game. But and let's be honest, when Barry took over from Clement, the squad's ethos was still the same. I'm not blaming Barry on that, but the ethos of the players was exactly the same as through Barry and through Clement, and before that with Bill. It's so bizarre because some of these players are on big money, even for Scottish football. They're on huge, vast amounts of money, and have they delivered value for money? The answer is simply no.
Yeah. See, I think it comes back to the point of where we're signing players just for the talk, just for the sake of it. The likes of that Rami did at the end of the last window. It was as if just to say, right, the fans are demanding someone in. It was laid on. Option A, B, and C was gone for us with whatever way our wages were and what we could spend. And the next minute we bought him. Absolutely useless, Scott. I don't know if maybe you agree or disagree on that, but I just think that's the point. We've wasted what little funds we have constantly under the last regime as well. And it's always been every season you're starting these Champions League games a wee bit with one arm tied behind your back because you're always going right. We need a whole total revamp. We've got rid of the manager. We need to get another 12 players in, 12 players out. And it's I think going forward it won't be like this again, but we might have to bite the bullet this time round because it's going to take a while to get all this organised, isn't it?
It's because still a lot of players on board that are surplus to requirements. I mean, Proppers, I don't know if he's leaving or if he's staying. I think he may want to stay, may want to go back to Holland, who knows? But he's another transfer that didn't make any sense. We loan out Ben Davis, and Ben Davis to me is a better player than Robin Proper, but he still didn't suit Scottish football, and I don't think Proper did either. You've got Balogun who they've let go, so centre half wise we do need to bring someone in. It's difficult because recruitment has been poor, but it's not all down to recruitment, it's down to the manager as well. It's down to the mentality of the players. I think a lot of these players enjoy it more when they're underdogs than they do when we think they're going to win. When we all think we're going to beat somebody, I think a lot of these players kind of shit the bed. sorry for that, but shit the bed they do. But when they go into games as underdogs, where there's no expectations, they seem to rise and they seem to show people we can prove you wrong. Like you've done it away at Celtic Park, like they've done away in Europe, and you're thinking maybe there's something there. And then they come home to St Mirren at Ibrox, and you're thinking, is this the same team? Or Queen's Park, as Baz mentioned. So I don't know. I think a lot of days nowadays, football players nowadays are totally different from when I was younger. I mean, I'm 52, so I've seen guys who just played for the jersey who didn't have a lot of probably great football knowledge upstairs, and that's no disrespect to them, but they want a part to win. They just win the ball and give it to somebody. A lot of these guys don't, and if something goes wrong, they're scared to maybe admit it or scared to call somebody else out. And I think that's all due to the way coaching is nowadays. I think coaching's changed. I think football is, I know some is something he's doing it on Talk Sport, it's probably overcoached a lot of players. I think it is. It's different from when I used to play, it's different from when you played. So there's a lot of different issues coming on, but Rangers, we have to get back to the basics. And I think until we do that, it's going to take time for us all. We just have to be patient, which isn't a great thing for any football fan. No football fans get patience.
No, definitely not. Well, I'm sure you agree with that too, Baz. It's all about get the building blocks right this time. I mean, for Rangers, and then, I think if we're honest, we don't know if if we'll win the league this season or not. But I think Rangers fans are fair, and if we see a style of play, if we're enjoying going to Ibrox and watching our team, and we always believe that more often than not, at least we see something happens steadily getting progress and getting better. We'll take that, you know what I mean? But like for the last few seasons, we've watched a nothing team. And there's been no hope, and yes, they'll get some results, as Scott said there, but fine rightly, they'll go to Parkhead, they'll get a result somewhere, and when they play Motherwell at Ibrox, maybe 2 weeks later, you're gonna get a team again who just don't turn up. It's been a bit of a hard slog as a Rangers supporter for a long time. This is why we need to get this right, because we can't keep ripping things up all the time.
I actually said this all season last year. You see when we were playing Fenerbahce and we were playing them across the city, I had confidence we'd actually go there and win. And that was my point earlier on. When I was playing St Mirren, I had something in my stomach that was saying, we're up against it today. I don't see us winning today. And that's what I was saying to you earlier. It's crazy. That has to stop. The winning mentality has to be there week in, week out. You can't raise your game against in European football and a big old firm and go to away to St Mirren and not even bother putting your socks up. And that's a huge problem. And I'm hoping the ethos that Russell Martin brings in will instill it in these players. Barry Ferguson, when he came in, says he looked at players in the eyes. Well, I'd love to know. I'd love to know, because nothing happened after that. I'd love to know what sort of look they give him or what Barry Ferguson's used to. But them guys, that they weren't up for it. They weren't up for it. You have to call it as it is. But look, it's a fresh start. It's a fresh regime at board level, at coaching level. Hopefully we get some more players in this week, and I do believe we will. I think we'll maybe send at least one or two by the end of Friday. Fingers crossed. And I don't know. You have to be positive. You have to be positive. My only worry is, and I'm sure Scott, I don't know where you want to come in on this here. Is any early chinks in the armour in the league? How much the Ibrox faithful will actually bear much more of what's been going on? That's my only worry. Is how long the fans will give Russell at the start of the season.
That's a big call, Baz. I think the majority will be probably behind them. I think we have to be. We can't. I don't want to keep sacking managers, but sometimes there's no point in keeping a manager if things aren't working out, like Clement, like Beale. But we can't keep sacking managers and every year or every 18 months come back to square one again, where we've been recently, because like all you mentioned earlier, you're just stagnating. You're just repeating the process constantly. You're not going any further. You're just coming back to go back to the same place you started, basically. So I think we have to give him time. But as you know, as I know, as William knows, as soon as you play against Celtic or you lose a big match against maybe Hearts, Aberdeen, or even against say St Mirren away, and you lose it, the fans are only going to be happy straight away. William mentioned when we come on about the TNS result, people were cracking up, and that's a bounce game.
I know.
So that's what Rangers fans are like. I think it's because we're all desperate for success. We haven't really had any, and they always say there's a hope it kills you, but it probably is. But we just want to see something happen. I'll be happy this season if we get a domestic, even if we get to win a cup, say, right. And I know that's not reaching high, but or the ceiling, whatever. But if we can make the league go to April, May time, and then it decided don't have the league finished before Christmas, which has been recently, because the season's over and you're thinking, what have you got left to play for? We're putting our hopes into Europe, and realistically, I know we've been to a Europa final before, not long ago, but it's getting harder of a season in Europe because everybody's got more money to spend and more money in wages, and we're getting further behind. And I just want a domestic challenge, whereas we can say we were unlucky. No, come once for season, he came in and he got to Motherwell at home, kind of game it kind of decided it for me when we lost there. I think that went downhill for there, but I just want to be challenging and see us challenging and see us progressing forward. It might not be like massive strides, but seeing us going forward somewhere instead of just going side to side. And I'm not talking about a team, by the way. I'm just saying going forward. I'm not talking about a playing formation. just see us going forward, because I think we've not in any last few years we've not went forward. We think we have, and it's like we take one step forward and then 3 steps back, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, 100%. And the problem is too, guys. I think the manager there across the city who comes from this part of the world, unfortunately, Brendan Rodgers. But at the end of the day, we know the crack with him, guys. See, when the pressure's been on them, that team has cracked. Under the Clement, when Clement really was getting those wins going, it wasn't always pretty, but we just had that time. We just kept winning and winning, and the pressure was on. And their fans were giving him big stick at that stage. It happened under Gerrard as well. When Gerrard started to get things right, the pressure was on. But the problem for us has been when you start the season like we did last season there, you draw with Hearts, you lose to them, you're way behind in the first month of the season. No pressure at all. We just capitulated in different games, and it's making it easy for them. But I think if we see a team next season that's just, you see them improving, and yes, they might make mistakes. That will probably happen. We won't like it at the time. But if we see people learning from the mistakes and not the same old crap every single week, like people talk about standard of play. I don't think when we were younger, we even knew what standard of play was. It was just individual players are very, very good. Like you had your Brand Roundups, you just done something special. Davy Cooper's, that's the way it worked. Now it's all about this style of play. But I'm looking at that Rangers team every week where we're going home and away in the league, especially. And you were going, what are we actually trying to do? You're really trying to focus in and say, what is our game plan? And there never was one. So I think next season, if we see at least a game plan, we see players, busting their guts for a start, no matter who we're playing, whether it's them lot away at Parkhead or if it's St Mirren at Ibrox Park. If we see the team putting it in every week and steady progress, I think most Rangers fans, Baz, are down enough, that'll accept that as long as we see, progression.
The proof will be in the pudding, won't it, next season? As when we kick off and we're 5 or 6 games in. The problem with last season was the season was over after the first 4 games. It just felt like that straight away. And that's what I was saying about we need to start fast. In the first 4 games, we really need to make an impact, regardless of how the rest of the season goes. But to get the fans on board and to get behind Martin, we really will need a very, very fast start. That's my opinion on that. And it's between now and the start of the season, there's going to be a lot more changes with the playing squad. There might not be coming to the Champions League qualifier, but there definitely will be before the start of the season. And you're right earlier on, you've got to buy the right players. Too many players were brought in that haven't cut the grade. Maybe, and see, Barami was a classic one. We went for all these types of wingers, and we were outbid, we were outmuscled. And Barami basically was the last person on the shelf. And that's the way it looked, and that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Because for me, you see Barami, even when he came to Ibrox, I think Barami also knew I wasn't their number one pick. I wasn't the guy they really wanted. And Barami, for me, never really looked interested. Except for the Old Firm games when they tied him to McGregor, he looked okay. But apart from that, there he wasn't. So yes, getting into the market correctly and doing it right. If you notice, the board have says we're not going to say anybody's name. We're not going to do that. We don't want to. They're rubbing a fine line at the minute with wages and money they can spend. So they're doing a lot of things behind the scenes, and that's what I would say to Rangers fans. They are working behind the scenes. Just because we don't hear it in Sky Sports News or Rangers Review doesn't publish it or whatever it is, there is a lot of work going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, hopefully so, because it's needed. It's badly needed, isn't it? But the first to move on. But I know what you're saying too. That's what I'm saying. If we go into this Panathinaikos game, say we only signed 2 or 3 players, and we're not, the board will be getting the stick from the start. But it's all about the long term. I think they've said this even when they were doing the EGM. It's not about one season, see how we get on, and then clearing off. It's all about maybe the next 5 years, 10 years. And just judge us basically then, judge us over the next few seasons. Don't judge us so early, But it's a bit like what Baz was saying there, Scotty. It's just I think it'll happen. I think they are working hard behind the scenes. They're not going to take the club on just to watch it stagnate. That's not going to happen, But it's what we're saying again about that patience, isn't it? But I think we'll be fine.
It's all about patience, about timing. That's the hardest thing, like I said earlier, for any football fan to say that, especially when you're up in Scotland in a 2-horse race, basically. And it's no disrespect to anybody else up here. I know Hibs have signed a few players, Aberdeen, Dundee United, they've all signed players, but at the end of the day, they're not buying players at the same budget we should be buying players, so we should be able to beat these teams realistically. But obviously, the players have to go into part to prove that. You just can't do it on paper. But it will take time. But I'm actually quite happy with some of the players I've been linked with, like Connor Cody. I've seen people saying he's 32, he's old, he's blah blah, he's not getting the pace. Now all that could be true. All that probably is true. But his mentality is totally different. He'll shout at people on the pitch. He'll organise things on the pitch. And we've not got that at the team at the moment. I know Tavernier's the captain, but Tav does organise. Tav's always led by example with assists and goals, which is getting less and less in his game, even though last season I think he still probably led our team with assists, but he's not getting a leg to do all these things anymore. But I think Connor Cody will come in and he'll probably, I'm not saying he'll grab somebody by scruffy neck, but that type of thing, saying you need to do this, and he'll tell folk on the part, because there's been a lot of games this season after 10 or 15 minutes we're 2 down, and you're thinking, what's happening? And then it doesn't fix itself out until half time, until the staff reorganise things, and then we come back out. But you can't always win a game when you're losing and coming back. That doesn't happen every week. So I think getting the right recruitment and getting the right mentality, and we've also been linked with, I know we were linked with Flynn Downs, but I don't know if he's out of our Prince range, but they type of guys, I know they're coming from down south, but I just feel they've got a better mentality. Gerrard kind of done it when he first came in. He bought a few players for down there. Listen, they all didn't work, but they came in with a better mentality, and some of the guys that they brought in, Barama, you have mentioned, technically the guy's a very good player. You can see he's a very good player technically. I don't know if you've used him wrong, because, like Baz mentioned, on the games against Celtic, he's done really well, especially the man marking job. But I don't know. Is he one of these guys you have to tell what to do? Like, you play there, but you have to, because he seems lost some games, but other games he seems okay. So I don't know, but I think we just have to bring in a different mindset of people. And Connor Cody ticks the boxes for me, because I think he is a winner. And people say, well, he's not won a lot of trophies, but I mean, on a park, he's a winner. I know he's played with Wolves and Leicester and stuff like that. I think he was at Everton for a bit as well. But he's a winner on the park. He'll tell folk what to do. He'll give a folk a row for doing it wrong. I don't think we have that in the team. Probably the only person I see with that mentality is Nico Raskin. And who knows if he'll still be at the club come the start of the season.
Well, that's another thing, And Nico Raskin there is a cracking wee player, and he's got the mentality. He's always up for those games. And I've noticed as well, see, anytime there's a decision doesn't go Rangers' way on the pitch or whatever, he's the first one always leading the charge at the referee, as if he is the captain. That person is always bickering and demanding, and he's come out a few times as well and challenged referees on some bad decisions as well when it's been warranted, because there has been a few baffling decisions, as we know. But Baz, I know you're a big fan of Nico Raskin, but do you agree with Scotty there? with Connor Cody, that sort of mentality. If he came up the road, and he's played at some cracking clubs down there. You know what I mean? And if we're going to talk about age and pace, Davy Weir didn't have much pace, and he played for quite a few years at our club. I wish we had Davy Weir back again. You know, so if Connor Cody could be anywhere near that, I'll take that at 32.
Well, that's up the Rangers. They also employ a centre half beside him that has the pace. So Connor does the shouting, Connor does the organising, but you have somebody to bail you out if the ball does drop over your head and you can't catch them on. That's what good partnerships do. And he is a leader. I mean, Connor Cody's a fantastic player. And I think for us personally, I think it's a bit of a coup if we get him to Ibrox. You know, he could still be playing in the Premier League, no problem. Absolutely no problem. He reads the game very, very well. And that sometimes pace is great when it bails you out. If you look at Leon Balogun, his pace put many times that pulled him out of trouble. Maybe lost the ball, but he was able to get them big 6 foot legs, and, you know, and make that pacey run and hook the ball away. He done that quite a lot. Connor Cody reads the game a lot better than Leon Balogun. I'm not putting Leon Balogun down, but that is true. You know, Leon Balogun didn't play at the levels Cody did when he came to Rangers. You know, that's 100%. I really do hope we get that over the line. I know Jermaine Defoe's been pushing him, so that's a great advocate, and he's able to tell him what Ibrox is like and how good it can be. And when you mention about Raskin's a natural leader. Raskin has aspirations of being the very best. You know, when you're playing in the Belgium national squad and you're playing alongside Kevin De Bruyne, there's nobody better to play alongside, and there's no better height to get to. And for us, he has to play out of his skin. He has to play that extra bit better to stay in that national team. And I hope we keep him. Unless it's a mad offer, you know, that we literally can't refuse. Nico Raskin, for me personally, has to be in that team. Especially if we get rid of Igamane. We can't sell all our best assets at one go. I don't think that's the right way to do it either. Because I tell you what, they're very hard to replace.
What do you think, Scotty, about the Nico Raskin situation? With, I know you're like us, obviously great player. You'd like to see him stay on, but would it be for you? Would you be similar in our thinking, as in if he is going to stay on, we'd need to have a sort of contract signed ASAP? Because the problem is, you know, if Nico Raskin comes into the summer, then clubs are starting to go, well, hold on here, that's gone down to a year and a half. Then you can get the Bosman ruling eventually, and then the transfer valuation goes down. But I think if he signs the contract, even for a year extension on his deal, you know, I think the World Cup's next season. If he has a good World Cup, you could be getting into this time next year, and his valuation could be even higher than what it is now. You know, but I don't know what you think about that.
I think it's just all ifs and buts, isn't it? But Nico, I mean, he's done well the last 6 months, but before that, he struggled with fitness, he struggled with game time, and we thought, is he the player we bought when he first came through the door? But I think you were right when you said that. I think Igamane moving on is probably in a way to say we can get rid of one of them, but we can't really get rid of two of them, because it would be hard to replace both of them. And I think Nico showed a wee bit more than Igamane has. Igamane's a lot of potential at the moment. Listen, he scores some fantastic goals, but he's not played consistently up top. Dessers has been playing more than him, and I know that's a big point with a lot of our fans, but for all you can criticise Dessers, and I do, he has put the ball in the back of the net. Igamane sometimes struggles, but he has scored some spectacular goals. You think, how did he score that? But I think if it came to the push, you would probably sell Igamane, keep asking if he's willing to sign 1 year. 1 year, you can see him sign for a year. If he's going to play every week for us anyway, as long as he's fit. And if he can, we've been in Europe at some point, either if it's the Champions League, Europa, or even the Conference. So if he's playing in Europe, he puts himself in the shop window. And if he keeps playing with Belgium, because he gets a lot of good reviews when he plays with Belgium, a lot of Belgian fans like him, a lot of players, and the manager seems to like him as well. So if he can keep in that squad, like you said, and hit the World Cup, then who knows what price he would be. But I think at the moment in time, we just look ahead to day by day just to see. But I would like Raskin to stay, even if it's just for a year, and see him sign for one more. And if an offer comes in at, I don't know, 25, 20, whatever, like, I'm not going to say a figure, because every time I do say a figure, somebody says he's worth more than that. He's only worth how much somebody will pay for him. That's my answer. But if an offer comes in we can't afford to turn down, then you keep him. But it's also a risk, because he could get an injury again. But hopefully he doesn't. But out of two, I would keep Raskin and selling Igamane, because I think there's strikers you could bring up to replace Igamane. I think there's a lot of young strikers you can move on. I think Raskin would be more difficult to place. Out of Raskin and Deal, I'd probably sell Deal before Raskin, because I think Diamande is a good player, but I think you're probably more suited to the French or Italian league, because I think that's his style. I think he struggles with us domestically, but I think in Europe he's fantastic.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with that. There, just having a look through some of the comments here, guys, to see, because I think it was Jeff that wrote something about. Let me see if I can find this. Can I ask, lads? We say it's about keeping our talent, young ones coming up, and sold Alfie Hutchison to Newcastle, someone that was big talk on. But I don't actually think that was really our fault, was it? Like, I think if Newcastle can come in, they can just come ahead and take him. It's up to the kid at that age whether or not he wants to go. So there's nothing really we could have done about that one. I've seen a few people sort of not too happy with that, but it's I don't know. It's how do you keep someone at that age if the Premier League's offering them crazy money? We've seen the likes of Billy Gilmore, the situation there, the wage he was offered. I think there was even a job and all sorted out for his dad down there, a lovely big house and all. How do you say no to that, Scotty, at that age? Even though if you're a Rangers man or not, you've got guaranteed big money there when the Premier League Cups come along, wouldn't you?
Listen, if somebody comes now, you're 16 and somebody says, here's 15 grand, 10 grand a week, we'll get your mum and dad a new house, so extras involved, and it's very difficult because at that age you become the main breadwinner for your family. Do you know that way? So it's
Yeah.
very difficult to say no. And we're all sitting here as fans, so we're seeing through both tinted glasses. But if I was 16 and somebody says to me, come and play football, here's 10 grand a week, I would say probably where to assign me, because there was no way he's on that at Rangers,
Wow.
because some of our first team players aren't on that. And it's just money talks, I'm afraid. The English clubs have got a lot of money they can spend in young players who probably won't make it for them. Look at Ben Doak at left Celtic with Liverpool. He's been shopped about constantly, but Liverpool knows a market there. And they'll probably get 25, 30, maybe even 35 million for Ben Doak, who they sign for nothing because of the cross-border thing. So that's why they do it, because there's a market for him up here. They'll bring a player down to England. If he does well, he doesn't make their first team, which is a likelihood of it 1-2% to make their first team. And then he'll go somewhere else. Like Billy Gilmore's made a lot of money through transfer deals, but he didn't only played a lot at Chelsea because they had the transfer ban at the time. But after that,
Yeah.
he was kind of struggling to get into their size. So they're always going to come up here. It's just up the road. And I think, well, he's not going to stay at Rangers if you offer him money. Who, to be fair to them, it's nothing to them. The money the riches they've got down there, it's nothing what they offer these kids, and we just can't compete.
Yeah, I think that's right, Baz, really, isn't it?
110%. We're struggling to compete with championship teams, never mind Premier League teams. That's the reality, and
Well,
we're expecting,
that's true.
and us as fans are expecting this club and this team to get into Champions League qualifying groups, and we're missing out on a player to QPR. So, that's very difficult to get your head around things like that. Young players, I'm not going to criticize too much on the young players, because I think with the new regime in, and I think with the new board, I think they're going to identify that and they're going to try and sort it out. If I was criticizing the old regime, the amount of young players that was released this summer was absolutely unbelievable. It was crazy numbers. I would say we must have been the biggest club in European football that let so many young players go at the one time. And all these players, I was looking through some of the names and I was thinking, Scott, these guys were touted as the next big thing. There was lots of them. These are the next big up and coming superstars in Scottish football, and none of them, not one of them, has reached them heights whatsoever. So that's something that the new board needs to identify, because that's one thing we used to do. We used to pull good young players through and move them on for profit. That's not happening, because you can't always keep buying players. It's good to see some youth coming through. And now, don't get me wrong, we brought in the likes of Karen Barn, yeah, Lyle Cameron. There's good young players there, but it'd be good to see them blooded through from Rangers. And we do see players going far too often.
See, the
I
problem
think
is
that's
too.
very difficult. Sorry, on you go, Baz. On you go, William.
No. It's just quick. Sorry, Scott. I was just saying the problem is too, though. Rangers and them lot across the city. We know the crack there. We were the big pools back in the day. That's who you wanted to get. yeah, if you made it to the Old Firm, you made it. You know what I mean? It's a young Scottish player. See now, those teams down the Premier League and European football, they're looking at you from 12, 13, 14. They can have you down the road there and take a chance on someone at that age before we even get a chance to have a look at. You know what I mean? I think that's what is another thing is a problem for us, Scotty. You know.
I think it's more difficult to get into Rangers first team as a young guy. I think managers don't take the risk. I think Bailey Rice and you've got Curtis there for this season, but are they going to play a lot of minutes? I'm not sure they will, because I think
Yeah.
when you're in Scotland and it's like I said earlier, if you finish second, it's failure. So are you willing to put your job on the young players coming through? Are you going to put it on experienced guys in the squad? Whereas look at Lennon Motherwell, he's played with 80 odd games, 90 games, whatever, and he's valued at probably about 6-8 million, and he could go probably a pick of teams. And he's playing at a level like if Curtis and Rice were there, they'd probably play that many minutes. It's just where they're at. And that's how, if I was a young player coming through, or my son was a young player coming through, I wouldn't advise him to go to either team. I would advise him to go to another team, because you've got a better chance of playing more minutes. You've got a better chance of been getting 40, 50 appearances. And if you do really well, then it opens up a lot of doors to go to another club in Scotland, go down south. But even if you went to Chelsea as a youngster, like I said, you go out on to the League One or Championship, you have a good season there. You've got a Championship team willing to buy you for 25 million. You're like, it's just totally different world for we participate in. That's just the nature of the beast with the money they've got down there, and we can't compete, and it's very difficult. I also don't think it helps. There's no reserve football anymore. We don't play in the league, so the young players have got to be playing somewhere. Because if there's not, then if they don't, why are we putting so much money into the academy when it's not producing anything? You might as well say, well, we'll just shut it down and we'll just continue to buy other teams' young players, which we kind of stopped doing as well, to be fair, because there's a lot of players in Scotland we can maybe have looked at which in the past which we haven't done either.
What do you? I'll ask you first, Baz, there, because what Scotty said there isn't really a place for these young lads to play as in the B team and stuff. Really, when you look at it, you know what I mean. But what about this? Maybe even this partnership that's been rumored about with Rape Rovers in League One, and they seem to be a club that's always sort of battling it in the Championship to try and get promotion. Do you think that would be maybe benefit some of these younger talent if they can go to like the Rape Rovers in a league where they're expected to compete every week?
They have to. You have to. We need to get the young players into the mindset of winning is crucial. You know, and if they're playing for Raith Rovers, I think that's a good idea, because it gives the players that they become. You see, when you leave Rangers to go to one of these clubs, even as a young player, the expectation level on you straight away because you're a Rangers player is massive. It's hugely high. You're expected to be better than what's already there. So for me, and some players will rise to that. Some players don't. The players that do rise to it, they're the players that you want back at the club, and they're the players you want to blood back into the first team. Scott makes a fantastic point. The fact that we have been sacking for so long, no manager, you're right, hasn't taken a chance on young players because the fear factor. If I play these young players and we lose, I'm going to get hammered. Now, that didn't work either because even the broad so-called first team players in, we didn't do it either. So I think we missed a trick, especially with Bailey Rice. I think he really should have been blooded in a lot sooner than what he has been. And he hasn't really. Now, the wee lad was unfortunate too. You know, he came into the European game, he started the game, he was off after minutes. The wee lad didn't even get a chance to play that night in a big, huge game. It's difficult. I look at players like Leon King. The amount of wasted years that boy's had at Ibrox is absolutely criminal. Robbie McCrory, another one, wasted years at Ibrox, far, far too long. I'd rather see these young guys going to clubs like that and flourishing, and hopefully they come back better players. Because you see sitting on the bench, or not even on the bench, what you mean? You take a Leon King this season. If he doesn't go out on loan, where does he go? What does he do week in, week out? He's not part of the matchday squads. He's not part of anything. So it's better these players move on and get that experience.
Yeah, I think with a weird way of thinking in Scotland, you know what I mean, and ourselves over here, we talk about these young players like the King, these young players, and they're 22, 23, some of them, and you're sort of going, see if that was down south, they'd be getting a chance at 16, 17, 18. You know what I mean? We just look at them, like say Robbie Fraser there. We're talking about, we'll give young Robbie Fraser a chance. I wonder if he'll make it. Jeffy, who played quite a lot of games last season, is actually younger than him. Do you know what I mean? He's a younger player than what Robbie Fraser is, but we've got this mindset, and I'm guilty of it too. So I'm like, our young McCausland, you're sitting going, hold on a minute. You've got a football career, tell you what, 32, 33. That's when people start to go, oh, he's gone over the hill. And at 22, 23, we still at Rangers call these players young. Do you know what I mean? I think Scotty would just, in my opinion, is, mate, if you're getting 21, 22, and you are definitely still maybe getting a few games at the end of the season that don't matter, there's no point hanging on to players, because I think we're actually holding them back, you know what I mean, from going to a League One club or whatever and actually having a good career.
Totally agree. I think as a young lad, if you're in about the first team for maybe like 17, 19, you're maybe training or maybe getting training some days and maybe playing other games other way. I think there must be a point you must think to yourself, right, I've stagnated for 3 seasons here. I can't sit on this bench any longer because my career's going down unless clubs are looking at me. Because Leon King, as Baz mentioned, at one point, a lot of teams were after him. Newcastle, I think, were interested in him, and then me got him to sign an extra deal, and it's like, we all thought, great. And then he played in the Champions League under Gio, and he get totally criticised, isn't it? It wasn't his fault. He was just obviously coming for the B team into the Champions League is so big a level. He struggled, but he wasn't the only one. But for some reason, it was all Leon King's not good enough. But neither was the boy behind. But I can't remember that guy. We brought in from America. Remember him? We brought in from America, and he played centre back for a while. James Sands. Yeah, I mean, he was struggling as well. But so you can't put it all in Leon. You can't put it all in Leon King. But I think these guys must say to themselves, right, I've been here 2-3 seasons. I'm struggling. I'll need to maybe leave to get game time myself. My career's just going to go nowhere fast, because the end of the season there's a lot of players released, and there's not that many clubs waiting for players nowadays because everybody's tightening their belts financial wise. So I think the players have to look after themselves more than they do the club, because I think the club do waste a lot of these guys. They should tell them straight from the start, don't hold on to guys if you know deep down they're not good enough. And I think that about Ross McCausland, by the way. I just feel Ross is at a level where I like Ross as a player, but I feel Rangers is too high a level. He's not consistent enough for me. I think he's not strong enough. But I think with somebody else in the Premier League or somebody lower league in England, I think Ross will flourish. But I think with Rangers, I think because of where he's from, because he's a Rangers fan, I think the expectation's higher. He struggles with that, because if he's a big game, he probably beats himself up. Whereas if he was playing with, I don't know, say somebody like Reading or something in Championship in Scotland, and he had a bad game, he probably wouldn't beat himself up as much, just because he's grew up a Rangers fan, and it means that much to him. I think when he has bad games or misses a chance, whatever, I think he beats himself up far too much. So I think, personally, I don't think Ross is good enough, but I think he's good enough to play at a decent level somewhere else, like I say, maybe League One in England, or even the lower levels of the SPL. But I think with us, we need better.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I agree with that. And as I say, there's no podcast you're ever going to listen to more than ours. It's wanting Ulster men playing for Rangers Football Club. But at the end of the day, we love Rangers Football Club more than anything else. And if some players aren't good, whether they're from here or not, we're honest enough to call it out. But McCausland has had his chances as well, Baz. And unfortunately, he's just not at that level, really, if we're being honest.
McCausland's first problem was when he first came onto the scene as that impact player, he actually played really, really well. And that was his biggest downfall, because the fans' expectations expected that every time he came on the pitch, and it didn't happen. What I would say in Ross McCausland's defence is that when Clement played him a lot, he played him over on the left-hand side. He doesn't like the left-hand side, he likes to play on the right. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not advocating to keep Ross McCausland here, because I'm not. Scott, I do think you're right. I do think we need a better player than Ross McCausland. What I'm just defending him in certain aspects is that he probably wasn't playing his best position most of the time. And I actually think he put too much expectation on himself. And that's why I reiterate, you see that first impact game, then first 3 or 4, he was tremendous, and he done quite well in European games. But teams found him out because he kept doing the same thing. He got away with it at the start. There's lovely trickery movement, cutting on the inside. But then all left backs went, go ahead. we know where you're going. We know you're going to cut in, and then they just took a ball off him, and then it went the way it went on the pitch. So Ross McCausland, and by the way, that's cost him his Northern Ireland place as well. He's lost his Northern Ireland first team place over this. I think Ross McCausland would have a really good career probably at somewhere like Kilmarnock, like Chrissy Burke. I bet like a Chrissy Burke. Chrissy Burke flourished at Kilmarnock when the expectation levels come off his shoulders. You know, so yeah, Ross McCausland. I think it's time to go. Where he goes is another story.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, no, 100% agree with that. But it'll be interesting to see where he goes. And I want to see him flourishing, obviously, because at the end of the day, us being Northern Ireland man, he'll always be hopefully involved with squads and stuff. That Northern Ireland team at the minute is a cracking young side. It's a very, very young team, but they're starting to really flourish when you watch them now. So it's going to actually be hard for him to get back into that side again. There's a very good young talent there all around the pitch. So we'll move on because we're coming to that time already. Believe it or not, we haven't even really got talking to much really of what we wanted to talk about today. But Max Aarons, is it Aarons or I thought it was Aarons. Now I'm being told it's pronounced as Max Aarons. Have you heard that one, Scotty? Is that right?
That's what he said himself. He pronounced it
Oh,
Ian.
well, there you go then.
Straight for the horse's mouth. That's what he said. That's what he said. I was listening to someone. He was talking. He said everybody calls him Aarons, but it's Aarons. I was saying Aarons as well or whatever, but it's Aarons. I think that's a very good signing. I think he's looking to get himself back on track. I think there's a player there. I think he's looking to prove a point. It's just unfortunate it's only on loan because, you know, loan players are really successful with us in the last few seasons. For some reason, they do really well, and then we either can't afford them or they go elsewhere. But if he comes in, he's coming in to play, isn't he? He's not coming in to sit on the bench. He's coming in to play because I think Russell Martin really likes him. And I think he's got a point to prove, and he's got a lot of games under his belt, so he's very experienced. So I'm really excited about this signing. I think he's a talent that we've missed, and no offence to Tav, but Tav couldn't always do it. Tavernier pulled us out of so many games in the past. You have to give him credit for that, but nothing lasts forever. And I think that's the reason Tav's starting to go downhill because his legs are away and it happens to the best of them. So I think I'm excited to see what he does when he starts this season. I don't know if Tav will play or you'll play centre back as some people are suggesting. Who knows where Tavernier will play, but I think it's very good sign.
Yeah, no, I just we're on Tav there, Scott. At the end of the day, mate, I think it was last season. Come on, to be fair, was trying to phase him out a wee bit. You had Sterling playing there, you had Nana playing there, but the fact is, these guys couldn't stay fit. I ended up being Tavernier, played more minutes in the pits than anybody else. So as much as I agree, and Baz I know agrees, because we always have a discussion, we're not the biggest fans of Tav, as in the legs have gone now. We're sort of going, he probably should have went last season. But then you're looking at towards the end of the season going, the guy that we're saying has no legs is playing more minutes in the pits than anybody else in our whole squad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I mean, he's still fit, isn't he? He still makes himself available, and I think it's just his captaincy. People don't like it because he doesn't come out and speak after losses. He doesn't come out and say a lot. But like I said earlier, he's a captain that plays by example. Like when he was scoring goals or when he was giving assists, and especially that European run, he was always popping up at the back post. He scored a lot of goals that season, and you're thinking that's a Tavernier we like, and was he still the most full back with the most goals? Am I right back? Was he still so? And he's been here a long time. He joined us when we were in the championship, so you have to give him credit for longevity. It's just it comes to an end at some point. But like you're right, William. His game time hasn't lessened because recruitment wise, we've bought players who are injured or we can't find somebody who can replace them. So I think Aarons will help him this season. I don't think he'll play as many minutes. And I'm not going to say I've criticised Tav, but I don't think it's his fault. I think a lot it's to do with our recruitment. That's why he's played so many games when we know he can't do that anymore. But like I say, it doesn't hide, but he can't offer us what he did, and that's the problem. We're missing his goals because if you look back to last season with Dessers and take his goals away, we were struggling. But Tavernier was always jumping up about 20 goals. He's not scored a lot because he can't get them down the park like he did.
Go, Baz, there's someone saying you'd be a good goalkeeping coach. Scotty is the assistant, myself as a manager. I would say we'd last about a week.
And that's in a bank holiday.
What do you think yourself, Baz, about Max Aarons? I mean, that's so weird calling him because I had it in my head Orange all because I have to really learn to say it the right way now. But a
Well,
very good talent. A lot of massive clubs. I think Bayern Munich and Barca and stuff were looking at him at one stage, and the way it goes when he was at Norwich, he ended up at Bournemouth, went to Valencia for a while. But definitely, there's talent there.
but whether he's orange or orange, who cares as long as he plays well? You know what I mean? We'll just call him Max. I think that's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah,
You know
just
what I mean?
we'll just call him Max. There you go. That's it.
The fact, the fact is, yes, at one time there was a possibility of a 30 million Barcelona Bayern Munich thing. At one time, he still has to prove himself at Rangers. The Scottish football is it's a mad league. Like it's you can be brilliant in La Liga and brilliant. Like we seen this with Aaron Ramsey. Aaron Ramsey came from Italy, superstar. Totally, he really did struggle in Glasgow. He had a hard time there. He wasn't awful, but he wasn't brilliant either. For the sort of money we were paying him, he wasn't. He didn't give value for money. But what I would say in Max Orange is he's young. He's got great legs. He's exciting. He can play actually on both sides. He can play left back if required. He can play with both feet. Again, that's another good attribute. I wouldn't like to see him playing left back and Tavernier right back and getting totally skint every week again. I think that would be totally that would actually drive me insane if I had to watch more of that. But again, you've got to look at Max Orange too. His fitness levels in the last year, he hasn't played a massive amount of games. So a good pre-season is going to be crucial for him, and I think we need to bring him in the right way. I don't think absolutely crucifying the boy 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes every week is going to help him. I think we're going to have to manage him a wee bit at the start, just till he gets used to Scotland, because there's some ferocious tackles come on you too, Scott. Like I mean, you do get some kickings. Like in terms of Tavernier, his fitness levels are absolutely unbelievable. Regardless of what you want to say about Tavernier, that boy is fit, and his levels are very, very high. Yes, the legs have gone, and we've all seen that, But I would say if Max Orange stays fit, if you can get Sterling on a level of fitness, a bit more consistency, I think that would actually be a good battle between the two of them, because they're very, very different in how they play. Sterling is more of a bulky, big lad, push you out of the road right back, and Max Orange is more of a tricky, wary type of right back. I think if we can keep both of them fit all season, that's a fantastic battle there for that spot. Tavernier, I would assume, is going to come slightly more into the midfield or right centre back now, as they call these guys. But I'm hoping, William, this is Tavernier's last season. I'm hoping that we move on from this, because for me, with everything new that's happening, there's a lot of Tav haters out there, and they can't wait for Tavernier to misplace a ball. And do we want to be like that? Do we want to be fans that just constantly criticise players? No, we don't. So I think this season for me would have to be the last.
Yeah, I agree with that. But the thing is, too, and I know a lot of people saying the first thing manager should do is get rid of Tal. But the fact is, that guy's on how many thousands? He's on big money. And who, are you going to leave when you've got a year left to go? Plus, over 30 grand a week. Where else is he going to get that? Do you know what I mean? So you can understand it's all right saying all the time, get rid of these players, get rid of them all. But you need someone in, a bit like what Scotty said earlier. You're only worth what someone's going to pay for you. And who's going to come in and say, well, I'll take that contract of over 30 grand a week for Tavernier when they know he's not the Tavernier he was maybe 3-4 years ago?
Can I say something? If we get rid of every player that every fan wanted out of that club, we'll be left with two players. you know what I mean?
Raskin and Igamane.
It's mental. You know what I mean?
I know. We'll just end up with a rumor here then, as I say, because we haven't got much to go on because the club aren't giving anything away. But there has been reports in Turkey. I was reading up there as well just before we come on. There's a lot more of the bigger pages are starting to share it now that Besiktas are rumored to be interested in Diamandi. Scott, I don't know what your thoughts are on that one, mate.
I've been critical of Deal this season, and it's not the fact I don't like him. I actually do like him. I think he's a very, very talented footballer. I just feel he struggles domestically. Not sure. I just feel he struggles domestically against people when there's pressure on him, when there's not a lot of room to play. But when we play in Europe, I think he's fantastic. I think he's very good in the turn. He gets forward. He's starting to score a couple more goals. His assists were good, and I think he's starting to get a better understanding with Nico next to him. But I think it could be the same. I think you have to look at money you offer for players. And is he worth more than that? Probably. Do we knock it back? I don't know. As if it's true, then you have to seriously look at it. Listen, if they've offered £10 million, that's not their. That is the first offer, isn't it? And every football team, every transfer, when you go in with an offer, it's not your final offer. It's just to see, is this club stupid enough to take the 10? Because we're willing to pay maybe 14, but we'll go in with 10. And if you say yes, they're happy with that. It's like when you go and haggle when you're on holiday and stuff for stuff, somebody will say, I'll sell you for €100. You're like, no, I'll give you 50, and you meet in the middle. So I think deals that. I think if they offer 10, maybe if they are interested, listen, he might say, Deal might be thinking this is a good offer for me that I want to go and try the Turkish league. I don't know why, because there's a lot of hassles out there for footballers not getting paid. But if we take the money, I think it maybe if we're happy with maybe 12 plus a good selling, I'd be happy with that. But at the end of the day, if he stays, I'll be happy as well, because I think there's a lot more stuff we can get for Deal, but I think it has to be more consistent.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that one, Baz?
That was actually quite a surprise for me. That came a wee bit left field with Diamandi. I wasn't even thinking about Diamandi actually leaving the club this summer at all. That didn't even enter my head. 'Cause I think there's been so much talk about Raskin and Igamane. You tend to forget some of the other players are actually still there. I'd actually completely forgot about Diamandi whatsoever. 10 million. If you look at Diamandi's overall play at Rangers, I actually think 10 million is pretty good money. I would like to have a bit more than that, but I think that's a good fee. Diamandi does struggle. Again, we highlight the games of St Mirren's and Motherwells, etc. I don't think he's the type of... He doesn't dig in deep for me. I don't think he doesn't try. I just think the physicality sometimes gets the better of him. I think in Europe he flourishes. He gets much more space at the time on the ball. He's able to do them turns and look good. And in Scotland he does tend to struggle a wee bit. I would say if 10 million could rise to maybe 12, 13 maybe, if Rangers played the right game. He's on a good contract as well. He's not a player we'll need to sell automatically. And Mark Dowie says take it and run. He splits he does split opinions. Scott, our father, watches him, and every time he touches the ball, he's shouting at him. He doesn't even make a mistake, and he's shouting at him. He just can't have him. Yeah, I think with Lyle Cameron coming in, and he plays that more forward role. But again, what I'm saying is we can't sell Raskin, we can't sell Diamandi, we can't sell Igamane all at the same time. So Rangers are going to have to be very, very careful in what to do here. Raskin must sign a contract, but before they actually do anything else.
See, if he doesn't sign the contract, would you still keep him if he wanted to stay? Because if he does have a good season and then does run a World Cup, you still get a year left. So you're still going to make a lot more money on him than you would when the money you bought him for. Might not be as much as we're saying, but you could sign a contract and get injured. So sometimes you have to be careful. You have to pick your moments, don't you? And we've been guilty of that in the past with Kent and Morelos. So, but you said as well, as we can't sell everybody like Igamane, Dio, Raskin, and we'll be left with a big pot of money. But who are we going to play? You're going to have to scramble about the transfer market for. I mean, people know you've got money to spend, and you're going in for somebody for £4 million. They'll be like, well, they've got a bit of money there. Give me 8.
Yeah.
Do you know that way? So,
yeah.
I think it's like a jigsaw puzzle. The Rangers are going to have to kind of work out what to do and what not to do.
Well, this is where the chief executive and the sporting directors are going to be very crucial. They're going to have to do what they're brought up to do. The one good thing about these guys is they've been at high levels. They've been at big clubs down south. They know what they've been in this market, so they know what the values are worth. The Raskin one's a difficult one for me. I would love to see Raskin stay, be made captain as well, and flourish. I'd love to see that. I'm just hoping that the deal's signed. For me, it's a really risky move if we keep him for the last year. Very risky, because we've seen it. If you look at Trent Arnold down at Liverpool, he was learning Spanish a year ago. He ran his contract right down to the very end. Liverpool got 10 million only because he played in that Club World Cup. But he ran it right down. It's a huge risk. It's a big risk. I don't know. I'm real on the fence with that one.
I know what Scott's saying there, though, but the only problem for me is if you get the last year of your contract and just say Rangers go, have you seen that man, the World Cup for 30 million, or don't even bother talking to us? Then you get a club going, I go, well, that's all right, sure, give us 6 months and we'll come back in the next window on the Bosman route and we'll have him next season for nothing, which can happen, you know what I mean? That's the only, but then again, it might be a different way because clubs might be going, no, we need to be the ones to buy him now because other ones will, you know what I mean? And then everyone's hopefully has more of a bidding war because then you can just say whatever you want for the price, obviously. But it's a catch-22 on that one. But listen, guys, that's near us towards the end. It's been absolutely great, Scotty. It's been great having you on, mate. We really appreciate that, and I'll definitely come on one of the Fridays because I'm free and available most Fridays, mate, and I'll definitely return the favour. But it's been absolutely amazing having you on. Thank you very much.
No problem. I really enjoyed it. I just hope I didn't speak too much, and I hope some people can understand me because I can speak quite fast at times. Maybe should I put up some subtitles. No, I really enjoyed it. Thank you for inviting, and anytime you want me to come back on, I'm more than happy to. But it's been really good, and like I say, I always listen to the both these on a Monday night when I'm usually working. I'll sit in the working put in here while I'm working away because it helps me pass an hour. Plus, it's good talk used to, and I don't. Sometimes I can join in the chat, sometimes I can't. Just depend how busy I'm at. But I always listen to you every Monday. It's really good. I've enjoyed it, like I said to you, William, since you started on the Heart and Hand Patreon site. I've listened to you back then, and you were on YouTube, so it's really good. Because I always wondered what you look like. I could hear your voices, but I didn't know what you look like, so I always
You,
wondered.
mu-
And then
you
I
must have got a
started to.
queer shack.
Oh, listen, I'm the same. I can't criticise anybody, but it was really,
Uh,
it's been really good. I've listened to you for the start, and I'll keep listening to you because I think the two you put over a lot of good opinions and good chat. And you're just like they say, you're just like ourselves. You just like to talk about Rangers because, end of the day, you're Rangers fans, and that's what we all are. And we all want to see our club doing well. So, like I say, your pod will grow and grow and grow because I know you're getting a lot more viewers, a lot more listeners, and I'll always be one of them.
Cheers, Scotty. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, mate. And I say we'll be the same with you. That's what I was saying to Scotty before. But come on, Baz, you know the crack with the hands across the water. It's perfectly named. We're guys from Northern Ireland who are in love with a club in Scotland, and we've got great friends here. We've been traveled over since we were young kids, and that's why we know your lingo, Scott. See, when I first came over as 9 years of age, my dad brought me into a bar, and we're sitting there, and all these boys. I saying to that, pulling. I was like, "How do you know what he's saying, Dad?" He's like, you'll get there, son. You'll catch on. You'll catch on." And now I'll come in. So I brought my partner over a few months ago, and I was talking to everyone. So you kept going, "What? How are you having a conversation?" He's like, "Don't worry, as we keep bringing you over, you'll get a bit like me. You just catch on. You learn it. You know what I mean?" But I know, but mate, I appreciate that's what I say. Hands across the water is. It's reaching out the guys across the water and building these friendships. And this is one we'll keep forever. Hopefully, Scotty, I'm sure we will, buddy. And you're always welcome on, as you know that, mate.
Yeah, that's like I said. Next time we both use at Ibrox or any time he's at Ibrox, just give me a wee shout. We can meet up for an iron brew in the Edmiston House or wherever, one of the pubs down the road just before the game. It'd be good to actually meet you in person instead of across a screen.
100%, mate. Thanks, buddy. Baz, what about yourself? Do you enjoy? That was a good one, wasn't it?
it was good because people got to listen to somebody else instead of listening to me and you. And to be fair, Scott, they probably understood you better than they did us. Because we can go 100 miles an hour. Sometimes I get caught up with what I'm saying myself. I don't even remember what I said 30 seconds ago. So I talk that quick. But yeah, fantastic to have you on, Scott. You've supported us from the very, very start, and that's genuine. You really have, and you've always endorsed us. So thanks very much for that, mate.
No bother, Baz. Like I said, I'll always listen to you because he's helped me through a Monday night in the work, and that's a tough thing to do because it's a 12-hour shift. But no, he's a good listen, like I said, and he's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's really good to see.
Well, on that note, we'll end it. As I say, it's been absolutely a pleasure. Thanks everyone for the comments as usual. And if you anyone who are not another Rangers podcast viewer, if you are or if you aren't, especially if you aren't, go on, follow them and start watching them. And hopefully you'll see me popping on some Friday, returning the favor. So enjoy your Monday evening, everyone, and we will speak to you again soon.